There's a woman in Barnsley who's been making the same egg custard every Sunday for 47 years. She doesn't need the recipe anymore, hasn't looked at it since 1983. She just knows. 2 eggs, a pint of milk, a tablespoon of sugar, nutmeg on top, into the oven for 40 minutes. Her husband died in 2011. Her kids live in Leeds and come down twice a month, but every Sunday she still makes the custard. Same dish, same oven temperature, same spot on the kitchen counter where it cools. She's not the only one. Across Britain right now, there are millions of people over 70 living alone, and a surprising number of them are still cooking properly. Not microwave meals, not ready-made sandwiches, proper food from scratch the way they've always done it. These are 30 old British recipes that seniors living alone still swear by. Meals built for one, perfected over decades, and cooked with a stubbornness that refuses to let a kitchen go quiet just because the house did. Number 30. Boiled egg and soldiers. The simplest meal in British cooking and the one that never gets retired. 3.5 minutes for soft boiled. Bread sliced into fingers, butter while it's still warm, dip and eat. It takes 5 minutes to prepare and 5 minutes to eat, and it's been breakfast, lunch and dinner for people living alone since long before anyone started worrying about cholesterol. 1 egg, 2 slices of bread, a cup of tea. That's a meal, always has been. The routine of it matters as much as the food. Boiling the kettle, timing the egg, buttering the toast. These are small acts that give a day structure when the rest of the schedule has emptied out. Number 29. Tinned soup with bread and butter. Heinz tomato, cream of mushroom or oxtail. Heated in a saucepan, not the microwave, because that's how it's done properly. Served in the same bowl they've used for 30 years with 2 thick slices of buttered bread on the side. There's a generation of people who genuinely believe that tinned soup heated in a microwave tastes different from tinned soup heated on the stove. They might be right. The saucepan version heats more evenly and you can stir it properly, and it doesn't get that weird film on top that microwave soup always develops. This is a Tuesday lunch, maybe a Thursday lunch. It takes 10 minutes and it fills the kitchen with a warm smell that makes an empty house feel slightly less empty. Number 28. Cheese on toast. Not a toastie, not a grilled cheese sandwich. Cheese on toast. Bread goes under the grill on one side. Flip it. Grate cheese on the untoasted side. Back under the grill until it's bubbling and the edges are going brown and crispy. A dash of Worcestershire sauce on top before it goes under the grill is the trick that separates the people who know from the people who don't. That splash of tangy, savoury heat lifts cheap cheddar into something that tastes like it came from a proper cheesemonger. This is the meal that seniors make when they can't be bothered to cook but refuse to eat something cold. It takes 4 minutes, it uses ingredients that are always in the house, and it's been reliable for longer than most marriages. Number 27. Corned beef sandwiches. A tin of corned beef lasts in the cupboard for years. When you're shopping for one, you stop buying things that go off quickly and start buying things that wait. Corned beef waits, sliced thick, laid on buttered bread with a bit of mustard or pickle. That's lunch sorted for 2 days from one tin. No waste, no rushing to eat it before it turns. Just open, slice, assemble, eat. Some people mash it with a fork and mix in a bit of salad cream and chopped onion to make a filling. Others slice it clean and eat it straight. There's no wrong way, and the argument about which method is correct has been running in British kitchens since the 1950s with no sign of resolution. Number 26. Poached egg on toast. When boiled eggs feel like too much breakfast and fried eggs mean getting the frying pan dirty, a poached egg splits the difference. Water in a pan, a splash of vinegar, crack the egg in gently, 3 minutes, lift it out with a slotted spoon. On a slice of toast with butter, salt and pepper, nothing else needed. The runny yolk soaks into the bread and turns a slice of toast into something that feels like a proper hot meal. People who live alone often eat standing up at the kitchen counter. Poached egg on toast is one of those meals that insists you sit down. You need a plate, a knife and fork, and a moment to actually eat. That enforced pause matters more than the food itself. Number 25. Baked potato with beans. 1 potato, 1 tin of beans, an hour in the oven or 7 minutes in the microwave if patience is short. Split open, butter pushed into the middle, beans poured over the top. Grated cheese on top of that if the block hasn't run out. This is the meal that feeds more pensioners in Britain than any survey will ever capture, because nobody thinks to mention it. It's so ordinary, so unremarkable, that people forget they eat it twice a week. But a properly baked potato with the skin gone crispy and the inside gone fluffy, smothered in hot beans and melted cheese, is a genuinely satisfying dinner. It requires almost no effort, almost no washing up, and the ingredients cost less than £1. Number 24. Welsh Rarebit. Cheese on toast's sophisticated older sibling. Grate cheese into a saucepan with a splash of milk, a teaspoon of mustard, a shake of Worcestershire sauce, and a pinch of flour. Stir over low heat until it melts into a thick, glossy sauce. Pour it over toast. Grill until bubbling. The difference between this and plain cheese on toast is enormous. The sauce clings to the bread instead of sliding off. The mustard gives it bite. The Worcestershire gives it depth. It tastes like something you'd pay £7 for in a gastropub. People who make Welsh Rarebit have been making it for decades. It's one of those recipes that gets passed from parent to child as a specific method, never a written recipe. You just know when the sauce is right. Number 23. Fish fingers and chips. 4 fish fingers from a box that lives permanently in the freezer. Oven chips from a bag that lives next to it. Both go in at the same time, come out 20 minutes later. Tomato ketchup, cup of tea. There's no shame in fish fingers when you're 82 and cooking for 1. The packet lasts weeks in the freezer. There's no preparation, no waste, and the result is hot and crispy and reminds you of feeding the grandchildren when they were small enough to sit on your knee. The frozen fish finger might be the single most important food in the solo pensioner diet. It's cheap, it's reliable, it doesn't go off, and it's always there when nothing else is. Number 22. Liver and onions. Lamb's liver from the butcher, sliced thin, dredged in seasoned flour, fried fast in a hot pan. Onions cooked low and slow until they're sweet and caramelized. Thick gravy poured over everything. Mashed potato on the side. This is a meal that people under 40 almost never cook, but people over 70 cook regularly. They grew up eating it. They know how to do it quickly, and liver is still one of the cheapest proteins at the butcher's counter because younger generations won't touch it. 1 lamb's liver costs a couple of pounds and makes 2 meals. Fried on Monday, the leftovers chopped and stirred through gravy on toast for Tuesday's lunch. Nothing wasted. Number 21. Scotch broth. A pot of Scotch broth made on a Monday will last a person living alone until Thursday. Pearl barley, split peas, diced lamb if affordable, turnip, carrot, leek and cabbage. Simmered for hours until the barley swells up and the broth goes thick and cloudy. Reheated in portions throughout the week, it actually tastes better each day as the flavors develop and the barley absorbs more liquid. By day 3, it's more stew than soup, thick enough to stand a spoon in. This is the recipe that widows and widowers mention most often when asked what they still cook. It fills the house with a smell that reminds them of decades-old kitchens, and it provides multiple meals from a single cooking session, which matters enormously when you're cooking for 1 and don't want to stand at the stove every night. Number 20. Macaroni cheese. Elbow pasta boiled until soft. White sauce made from butter, flour and milk. Grated cheddar stirred through until melted. Mustard powder for sharpness. Everything mixed together in a baking dish topped with more cheese and breadcrumbs, then grilled until golden and bubbling. A full recipe makes 4 portions, which is the point. Cook once, eat 4 times. Monday's dinner, Tuesday's lunch reheated, Wednesday's dinner cold with a bit of pickle, Thursday's lunch grilled until the top goes crispy again. Macaroni cheese is comfort food in its purest form. It's warm, it's soft, it doesn't need much chewing, and it tastes like childhood even when you're 80. People who live alone don't cook it for nutrition. They cook it because it fills the kitchen with steam and makes a plate that looks like someone cares. Number 19. Sardines on toast. A tin of sardines in tomato sauce, tipped onto hot buttered toast, mashed slightly with a fork. Black pepper on top, eaten with a cup of tea and the radio on. This takes 3 minutes. The tin costs about £1. The sardines are full of omega-3 and calcium from the soft bones. It's one of the most nutritionally complete meals a person can eat, and it requires almost zero effort. Older people who eat sardines on toast regularly tend to look slightly baffled when younger people describe it as unusual or old-fashioned. For them, it's just lunch. Always has been. The fact that nutritionists now call it a superfood is mildly amusing, but ultimately irrelevant. They were eating it long before anyone invented that word. Number 18. Stewed apple. Cooking apples from the garden if they still have one, or Bramleys from the shop if they don't. Peeled, cored, chopped and simmered with sugar and a splash of water until they collapse into a fluffy, sharp, sweet mush. Eaten warm with custard, eaten cold with a biscuit, eaten on porridge for breakfast, eaten straight from the bowl with a spoon while watching Countdown. Stewed apple keeps in the fridge for days and goes with almost anything. 1 bag of Bramleys makes enough to last the week. It's the dessert that never went out of fashion for anyone born before 1955, even if the rest of the world moved on to cheesecake and tiramisu. Number 17. Egg and chips. 2 fried eggs, sunny side up, cooked in butter until the whites are set and the edges are lacy and crisp. Chips from the oven or fried in a pan if they still have the confidence for deep fat. Bread and butter on the side for dipping in the yolk. This was a Friday night tradition for decades. Fish and chips if you could afford it, egg and chips if you couldn't. A lot of people over 70 still eat this on a Friday out of pure habit. The week has a rhythm, and egg and chips is the drumbeat that starts the weekend. The butter in the frying pan is important. Oil doesn't give the same flavour. Your nan knew this. The person still cooking egg and chips on a Friday at 78 knows this too. Number 16. Rice pudding. Pudding rice, milk, sugar, and a grating of nutmeg on top. Into the oven at a low temperature for 2 hours until the top forms a golden skin and the inside goes thick and creamy. One dish makes 4 or 5 portions. Eaten warm from the oven on the night it's made, then cold from the fridge for the next 3 days. Some people insist the cold version is better than the warm one. This argument has been running since approximately 1920 and shows no signs of being settled. The skin on top is the test. If you eat the skin, you're one kind of person. If you leave it on the side of the bowl, you're another. If you fight someone for the skin, you grew up in a house with siblings. Number 15. Mince and potatoes. Half a pound of beef, mince browned in a pan with a diced onion. A couple of carrots chopped in. Gravy granules stirred through with water. Simmered for 20 minutes. Served with boiled potatoes or mash. This is the backbone of solo pensioner cooking. Cheap mince stretched with vegetables and gravy, cooked in one pan, served on one plate. The leftovers go in the fridge and get reheated tomorrow. No fuss, no fancy ingredients, just dinner. It tastes like a school dinner in the best possible way. The kind of school dinner that you complained about when you were 8 and dream about when you're 80. Thick gravy, soft potatoes, savoury mince. Simple doesn't mean boring. Simple means you've been making it long enough that it doesn't need to be complicated anymore. Number 14. Bread pudding. Every stale end, every dried out crust, every slice that went hard on the counter gets saved. By the weekend, there's enough for a pudding. Soaked in water until soft, squeezed dry, mixed with dried fruit, sugar, mixed spice, and an egg. Pressed into a tin and baked until dense and dark. Cut into thick squares and eaten over the next 4 or 5 days. Bread pudding is the ultimate waste-nothing recipe. It exists specifically because throwing away bread feels wrong to people who grew up when bread was precious. The pudding is almost a byproduct of that principle. The real point is that nothing goes in the bin. Number 13. Pilchard fish cakes. A tin of pilchards mashed with leftover mashed potato, a bit of chopped parsley, salt and pepper, shaped into rounds, coated in flour, and fried in a little oil until crispy on both sides. 2 fish cakes per person with baked beans or peas. The tin of pilchards costs about £1. The potato was already cooked from yesterday. The result is hot, crispy, savoury, and filling. This is the kind of recipe that never appears in cookbooks because it's too simple to write down. But it's been feeding people for generations, and the seniors who still make it can shape a fish cake with their eyes closed. Number 12. Ham and pea soup. A ham hock boiled for hours until the meat falls off the bone. The stock used to cook dried split peas until they dissolve into a thick smoky soup. The ham shredded and stirred back through. 1 ham hock and a bag of split peas makes enough soup for nearly a week. It's one of the most efficient meals in existence. The first bowls are thick and rich with shreds of ham in every spoonful. By day 4 or 5, it's been watered down and reheated so many times that it's thinner, but it still tastes of smoke and salt and warmth. People who make ham and pea soup from scratch tend to make it the same way every time, in the same pot, on the same ring of the stove. The method is so embedded in their muscle memory that they could do it during a power cut. Number 11. Porridge. Not overnight oats, not Bircher muesli, porridge. Oats, water or milk, salt, cooked in a saucepan, stirring constantly until thick and creamy. The salt is important. Scottish tradition says salt only, no sugar. English tradition allows a drizzle of golden syrup or a spoonful of honey. Welsh tradition is flexible. Irish tradition says do whatever you like, but don't let it get lumpy. Porridge is the breakfast that seniors eat because it's warm, it's cheap, it takes 5 minutes, and it keeps you full until lunchtime. It's also the breakfast that every doctor recommends for people over 70, which is one of those rare occasions where medical advice and lifelong habit actually align. Number 10. Cauliflower cheese. 1 cauliflower broken into florets, boiled until just tender. White sauce made with butter, flour, milk, and a good handful of grated cheese. Mustard powder stirred through. Everything assembled in a dish, more cheese on top, baked until bubbling and golden brown. This is a main course, not a side dish, served with crusty bread and nothing else. 1 cauliflower and a lump of cheap cheddar makes a dinner that costs less than £2 and fills you up completely. The bechamel sauce is the part that separates the people who learned to cook properly from the people who didn't. A good bechamel is smooth, glossy, and tastes of cheese without being claggy. A bad one is lumpy and tastes of flour. People who've been making it for 50 years can do it without measuring anything. Number 9. Toad in the hole. 3 sausages, Yorkshire pudding batter, hot dripping, 25 minutes in a screaming hot oven. The batter puffs up around the sausages, golden and crispy on the outside, soft and custardy underneath, served with onion gravy and whatever vegetables are to hand. One of the most satisfying dinners in British cooking, and one that scales down to a single portion better than almost any other recipe. 1 egg, a few tablespoons of flour, a splash of milk. That's the batter. Your nan could mix it in her sleep. The person still making it at 76 can too. Some things you don't forget because you've done them 1,000 times. Number 8. Kedgeree. Smoked haddock poached in milk, flaked and mixed with boiled rice, hard-boiled eggs, butter, and a pinch of curry powder. A recipe that came back from India with the British Empire and settled permanently into the breakfast and supper rotations of a certain kind of household. It's the curry powder that makes it, just enough to add warmth without making it taste like a curry. The smoked fish provides salt and depth. The eggs provide richness. The rice provides bulk. It's a complete meal in one pan. Kedgeree is one of those recipes that younger people think is complicated, but older people think is effortless. 15 minutes of actual work. The rest is just boiling and waiting. Number 7. Steak and kidney pudding. For a lot of seniors living alone, this is Christmas dinner, birthday dinner, and special occasion dinner all rolled into one. A suet crust lining a pudding basin filled with diced stewing steak and kidney in thick gravy, sealed with a pastry lid and steamed for 3 to 4 hours. The steaming is the commitment. You need to check the water level every hour, top it up when it gets low, and resist the temptation to lift the lid and peek. But the result is a pudding so rich and deeply flavoured that it makes every other meat pie feel like an imitation. People who still make this are not doing it casually. This is an event, a decision made in the morning that shapes the entire day around it. And when they sit down to eat it, they eat it slowly because a pudding that took 4 hours to cook deserves more than 5 minutes of attention. Number 6. Leek and potato soup. 3 leeks, 4 potatoes, an onion, butter, stock. That's it. Cooked until soft, mashed roughly, or blended smooth depending on preference, seasoned with salt, white pepper, and a swirl of cream if there's some in the fridge. This is the soup that people make when they've got a few leeks that need using before they go rubbery. It takes 30 minutes, makes 4 bowls, and tastes creamy and elegant despite costing almost nothing. Eaten with crusty bread for lunch, reheated for the next day, frozen in portions for the week after. Leek and potato soup is the quiet backbone of solo cooking. Nobody talks about it because it's too ordinary, but it gets made more often than almost anything else on this list. Number 5. Shepherd's pie. Leftover mince from earlier in the week or a small batch made fresh. Topped with mashed potato piped or spooned on top, forked into ridges so the peaks go crispy, baked until the potato is golden and the mince is bubbling up at the edges. One shepherd's pie made in a small dish feeds a single person for 2 dinners, hot from the oven on Monday night, reheated on Tuesday with a bit of extra cheese melted on top. The ritual of making shepherd's pie is as important as eating it. Browning the mince, making the mash, assembling the dish, watching it through the oven door. It fills an evening with purpose and warmth and the smell of something good. Number 4. Sausage casserole. 4 sausages browned in a pan, then baked in a dish with tinned tomatoes, onion, beans, and a squirt of brown sauce or Worcestershire. Maybe some sliced potatoes layered on top if it needs stretching. One dish, cooked slowly, enough for 2 or 3 meals. The sausages go soft and savoury in the tomato sauce. The beans add bulk. The whole thing tastes like it took far more effort than it did. This is the recipe that district nurses and home visitors see most often simmering away in the kitchens of people living alone. It's manageable, it's safe because nothing needs deep frying or fast timing, and it produces a hot meal without demanding too much from hands that might not be as steady as they once were. Number 3. Fruit crumble. Whatever fruit is cheap. Apples, rhubarb, plums, blackberries picked from hedgerows, if they can still get to them. Chopped, sugared, piled into a dish. Topped with a crumble made from flour, butter and sugar rubbed together between fingertips. Baked until the fruit is bubbling and the topping is golden and crunchy. Served with custard, obviously. A fruit crumble is the dessert that people who live alone make for themselves as an act of self-care, even though they'd never use that word. It fills the kitchen with the smell of butter and baking fruit, and for 20 minutes while it's in the oven, the house smells like someone's home. Number 2. A proper cup of tea with biscuits. This isn't a recipe, but it is a meal. And for a lot of people over 70 living alone, it's the most important one of the day. Kettle boiled, pot warmed, 1 tea bag or 1 spoon of loose leaf per cup, plus 1 for the pot. Water poured at a full boil, steeped for 4 minutes, poured through a strainer if loose leaf, bag removed if not. Milk added after, never before. 2 digestives or a couple of rich teas on a small plate. This happens at least 3 times a day. Morning, afternoon and evening. The evening one is the most important because it marks the transition from day to night, from activity to rest. The biscuits are functional, but the tea is essential. Number 1. Sunday roast for one chicken thigh or 2 lamb chops or a small piece of beef. Roast potatoes, 1 or 2 vegetables, boiled or steamed. Gravy made from the pan juices. Yorkshire pudding if it's beef, mint sauce if it's lamb, bread sauce if it's chicken. The full production on a Sunday. For one person sitting at a table that used to seat 4. This is the meal that people keep making long after it makes practical sense. A full roast dinner takes an hour and a half of preparation for 15 minutes of eating. The washing up takes longer than the meal itself. The leftovers fill the fridge for 3 days. But they keep making it because Sunday means a roast. It always has. And stopping would mean admitting that things have changed in ways that have nothing to do with cooking and everything to do with the empty chair across the table. So the oven goes on. The potatoes get peeled, the gravy gets made from scratch, and for one meal a week the kitchen works the way it always did. Full of steam, full of smell, full of purpose. That's what these recipes are really about. Not food, routine, structure, a reason to stand up, walk to the kitchen and do something that matters. Cooking for one is lonely, everyone knows that. But the people who keep doing it, who refuse to switch to ready meals and cold sandwiches, who still make a full Sunday roast for themselves at 83, they understand something the rest of us haven't figured out yet. The meal isn't just food, it's proof that you're still here. Still capable, still worth the effort. Every single recipe on this list is a small act of defiance against the idea that living alone means giving up. And if that's not worth a Sunday roast, nothing is. If you want to see more of the food that built this country, that video is on screen now. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you in the next one.